What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Hopefully, you can hear me okay and everything. Let me know if you can't. Today, as is obvious on the screen, we are going to be doing some stuff with pastries. We've been doing a lot of textures. We've been doing a lot of textures up in here. Like we did translucency last time, did some other ones, and I was seeing everybody do some really good work with heard. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm just persisting. I'm like I'm still going. Amaranduk. Hello, good to see you. Good to see you. Um, uh, what was I going to say? What was I saying? I got totally derailed by Amaranduk. No, but I love that. Good to see everybody. Hopefully everybody's feeling good. We had the eclipse yesterday, and my family and I sat out there with the low glasses or whatever, and man, it was awesome. Andy, okay, cool, got you. All right, cool. Now we know each other. Now we're on a first name basis. So I'm John. Nice to meet you, Andy. No, but we sat outside and watched it for a while, and then we had in our area we had the full eclipse, like the full eclipse, and it was awesome. It was crazy. Actually, Anya and I were talking about it yesterday. That it was like just completely epic, like in so many ways, just amazing. So, yeah, really really cool stuff. So you know, let's see. Like I'm trying to think of a good segue for life changing. Yeah, for real. Like that's how I felt. That's how I felt too, Anya. Like when I saw it, I was like, dang, like it. I mean, it got no. Oh, sorry, I just dropped some. It got noticeably darker and noticeably cooler when, like, because Texas is pretty hot, right? So like when you're sitting outside and it's like the direct sun, it's hot, and so when the eclipse hit, man, it got cooler and stuff like that. Oh, there you go. That's the segue. I'm over the moon about the pastry vendors. That's it. Good job. That's it, Anya. I'm a dad. I should have had the dad joke like ready. That was good. That's awesome. So we've done a lot of textures, we've done a lot of different things. I wanted to have some fun today. I wanted to kind of show you guys, like, I've done, I did my 500 textures. I did all those different textures. I think I showed you guys that before. Um, but like I have a special place in my heart for like these food related ones. I even put like a praying mantis head inside a Reese's wrapper there, which is which is weird. I know. What's up? Hey, hey. So I have a special place. Like I like pastries too. Like I like trying. I've made most of these. I haven't made taffy before, but I have made this. Sorry, the Macaron. On you can say that better than me. I haven't made taffy, but I have made eclairs. I have made cream puffs. I haven't made. I don't know why this is here. Like this is. I grabbed this image from when I was doing it. I guess it's sort of. It isn't. It isn't quite a pastry one, but I just grouped it up with these. I guess I don't know. It was like next to it, but this is a Ferrero Rocher. These are related. Like so, this is Jello, but this is a current, like a red current. So, but you'll see like nature will repeat these types of things, right? But what was fun to me is like taking these, like here, like taking this like entremet or whatever, and turning it into a creature, right? So this is like what I would imagine would be like a fruit roll up tongue. If you guys know fruit roll ups, I don't know if you're not in the States, you might not know fruit roll ups, but basically I mean, it's like smeared fruit, like mashed up fruit, like smeared, and then it's like rolled into this thing so you can like peel it off and stuff. And I'm sure it has like 8 billion chemicals so it can peel off the right way and stuff like that. It's probably not even fruit. It's probably like plastic that they flavored as fruit or something. But anyways, this was a fruit roll up, tongue. I had like the chocolate mousse right here. I had like the whatever kind of mousse this would be. And then these are called Buckeyes. They're like peanut butter radioactive berries. Yeah, exactly. These are like peanut butter with chocolate around them. This was something that I don't know if it's real common, but like I used to live in Michigan and Ohio. Ohio, like they have these Buckeye, like it's part of a plant. And so, anyways, it's sort of replicating that with this peanut butter inside this chocolate. But if I have that right, but in chocolate sauces. Anyways, my whole thought process was it was really fun, and I still have this idea that I'm going to utilize in in the show I'm working on, like with these creatures that come to life, right? That are pastries that come to life and sort of terrorize the town or whatever. And so I wanted to do a whole bunch of different kind of pastry textures and that's at Cheesecake Studio Ghibli food art. Yeah, yeah, that's what. Yeah, yeah, that's fun. That's fun. Well, you can imagine it like going down the river of chocolate, right? These are pearl sugar. These teeth, they're like pearl sugar stuck in. If you guys have ever used pearl sugar, I wanted every part of it to be, I didn't want to have like just eyes on it, right? So that's what I want you guys to do. Like today we're going to do some of these textures and we're going to have some fun with it. I have some reference up, and we're going to do some of these textures, and I want to turn it into like creatures and stuff. This is fun. Yeah, exactly. I want to turn it into creatures, and the reason why is because it's a really good exercise to get your brain thinking conceptually, right? And a lot of these textures, like, okay, so this is jello, right? Well, there's other things that are translucent, right? Okay, well, this has sort of like, a little bit of a glossy texture, but it's got like a rough, exterior. This has got a really interesting, taffy has like a very, very interesting a highlight and a very interesting sort of surface, and what happens when it thins out, and then you can see through it a little bit more and stuff like that. Even this, like a Ferrero Rocher, has a really interesting pattern. This could be, a rock golem's texture or something, right? With concrete, or if you just change the color. So anyways, the whole idea is to take this concept and really like kind of push it further. So I want to do some studies first and talk about it. And it's going to kind of combine, you can see like a little bit of what I did for this is like with this pastry word, I just did it like super fast, but that has a little bit of that translucency that we talked about last time. You can kind of see that there, right? So but I want to let me grab the references. Here they are. And I'm going to keep them small. I want you guys to see them like we can all draw up around them and stuff. I want you to pick a couple of the textures. I want to start going through them, and I'll show you a demo of mine. But I want you to I don't want you to feel like you have to copy it exact. That's why I have them small at the top. I don't want you to feel like you have to make exactly what's there. I want you to kind of take the principles of what's there, make observations about what's happening with the lighting and with the texture and with stuff like that, and then paint that off to the side, right? So we're gonna do like a couple of textures, and then we're gonna make some fun creatures out of it, which I think would be really good. But again, you have to think like once you create these, like what would this be, right? Like so this could be right here, could be eyes, right? Like this could be eyes, maybe. Let me grab a different let me grab a different layer. I want to do this. One sec. I want to put a new layer on here like this. And I'm going to assign, oops, I'm going to, I can't remember where's the, I forget. Hey, Anya, how do I move it all the way up to the top? I forget. I don't know why you told me last time, but I can't remember. Like to get it all the way to the top, I can't remember. It is arrange layers. Bring to front, I guess. Is that it? Yeah, I guess that's it. Yes, that's it. Bring to front. Got it. Okay. So these could be eyes, right? That could be the eyes of a creature. You could have it like, like this kind of a thing, and those are the eyes. You could have. I mean, you could think of how to do this sort of a thing, and this is where you end up with. Okay, good. I got it. Yeah, this is where you end up with some really cool concepts, like really cool concepts. I mean, think about this, right? So you have like Spider-Verse. Right, so Spider-Verse is like, or you know what actually sticks out in my mind more is the new Turtles movie. So he had like all these animals as like the main villain, like at the end was like walking, and he was like basically like a transformer of all the animals. He had like horses on his legs and had like all this crazy stuff, right? So this helps you start to think really conceptually, and it's fun. It's just really fun too. But it helps you. It's sort of like a really relaxed and fun way to kind of learn all those principles. So anyways, let's get rolling. Let's do this. I'm gonna grab a couple of them. I want to show you these. I want to start with these. I want to do these, like these are bonbons, but just like candies that you would see and stuff like that. What I'm gonna do is like to imply that glossiness. I'm gonna kind of get a little bit of the environment in them, reflecting on there like that, because they get that nice gloss. They go in this tray that looks like this. There's like a tray, and it has like depressions in there, like where you'll see like depressions or holes in there. Like, and I'm drawing what you can't see underneath. It would be like depressions inside there that you fill with like chocolate, or and then you like scrape it off and bang it, and it's just a layer of chocolate on the inside there. Then you fill it with whatever. Then you scrape a layer of chocolate over top of the bottom, and then you bang them, lift it over, or flip it over and bang them, and then you have this. So what they do to get this like speckling is they like speckle it in there in these little, it's like an ice cube tray. It kind of looks like an ice cube tray, and you like speckle it in there, throw stuff in there. Then you put chocolate in there over top of it, and get it to be a thin layer. But that's why that ends up looking glossy like that. It's like a really smooth plastic. Um, so anyways, you have to temper the chocolate, of course, to the right thing. But I'm gonna make some of those. I like that shape up there, but I wanna do like one that's a little bit different, something that's kind of. Let's do a like a different one here, like a sort of like a gumdrop-ish sort of shape. Let's do that. And what I'm gonna do is create a silhouette here. I'm gonna create a silhouette so that I can use the opacity lock. That's gonna be the easiest way to do this. And all those interesting brushes that we've got here in Magma are going to be used to kind of create that texture. But again, we're going to talk about, the environment reflecting in there and all that. But this is going to be pretty easy to do. These are pretty straightforward, right? So you do have to have a little bit of a sense of light and dark. Oh, and you guys, I might be, my wife made me check this out. We just got a juicer. So she juiced like a bunch of carrots and a bunch of things. And I'm probably going to be drinking that throughout this. So ignore me if you hear me take a quick break. I've been losing my voice lately for some reason. I don't know why. My kids actually said to me the other day, they were like, Dad, nice voice cracks. Like, I was like, what? They were like getting on me about it. I was like, what? I was like, dang, throwing me shade for my voice cracks. I was like, they're like, well, you sound like you're going through puberty. This, and I'm like, okay, are you even through it yet? Like, you're saying all that to me. I'm like, okay. So anyways, so I might be taking a drink so my voice doesn't crack, for you guys. But I'm gonna grab the soft brush. I want to make mine. I'm gonna make mine like a darker green or whatever, or like I've seen, actually, you know what, I've seen some really cool ones that are like a pale blue like this, right? Which is interesting, right? But I'm gonna make it like this pale blue. I'm gonna actually add a little bit of like I'm gonna add like the lights and the darks, like a shadow. I'm gonna have the light coming from the top left, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna kind of get the look of the lighting shift first, and there will be reflection from the environment and all that stuff too. I'll get that, but I'm just kind of using a soft brush to get like the world. They probably just learned about puberty, so it sticks out to them. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Well, I don't know. I mean, they've kind of they've been talking about it for a while. We're like the type of parents that we're like super open, so we've talked about it for a while. So I don't know. I think they just like, maybe they are in the midst of it. Maybe that's why they're thinking of it. But yeah, they just like to get my goat too, like however they can, which doesn't work, but they try, you know. So I want to get like a transition like this in here. And there will be a little bit of reflected light. So maybe I'll put a little bit of that in. Like, I almost like to, if I have a glossy object like this, I almost like to make it matte first. And it seems to help me, like when I make it matte first and then worry about like almost adding the layers of gloss and stuff like that after, it helps tremendously. What I'm going to do now is grab one of these brushes. I'm actually just going to grab like, this might be kind of cool. Actually, like a checkered one might be kind of interesting. So I'm going to grab something that's a little bit darker, maybe like a little bit warmer too. And I'm actually going to put like a checkered, like, can I get it to look like that would be kind of interesting, actually. Hold on, let me see. I'm going to make the angle a little different. And there we go. So let me change this angle up here. I'll get it to be like that. Okay. Kind of get it to come. That's kind of cool, actually. I like that sort of thing on there. Like, it's different, right? So what I'm going to do now is just go back over that. I'm just going to account for the fact that it's a little bit lighter there in the front. And and just make that a little bit lighter like this. So it looks like it's actually transitioning. You know what I mean? Like there's a pattern on there, right? But certain areas are going to be lighter, certain areas are going to be darker. Same thing down here. So I've got this candy here, and it probably I'm making mine like I'm kind of doing it the wrong way here. Let me erase this because I'm making mine have like a raised edge at the bottom, and I think it should be kind of flat at the bottom because they usually are like super flat at the bottom like that. So I'll come in like this and just flatten it out sort of like that at the bottom. It would have a little bit of an ellipse, but it's going to be mostly flat at the bottom. Okay, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be a perfect shape, but the more you can keep it like even those simple things, the more you can keep it close to reality, the more realistic it's going to read. So then we've got this gray environment, right? I've got this like gray environment around it. So that's going to be reflecting in this. So I'm going to go like 10% opacity here, hit this side with that. The left side, the right side. I'm definitely going to be getting that kind of a thing. Although I might want to go a higher opacity, and I'm going to go less. I have found with reflections like this, if it's a glossy surface, I don't want to go soft. Like I want a harder edged brush. Even though I have low opacity, I want a harder edged brush, and I want to put it in that way. Now remember, you're going to have that Fresnel effect. Remember we talked about the Fresnel effect, which I've been laughing about since then. Like the perfume, like she's an artist. She wears the Fresnel effect, or it's like, why did this man fall in love with her? Why is he, head over heels? It's the Fresnel effect or something. Oh, it's so funny. So, anyways, yeah, so I'm getting a little bit of that environment in there, and and it is the Fresnel effect, like hitting on the sides like this. You would in the top left because there's a reflective area. Yeah, it was Andy that started that. Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. That was so funny, man. So funny. So this kind of won't look right until you really get let's see, why is this opacity? Oh, I'm on the eraser, that's why. This kind of won't work, fully until you get that highlight in, right? So until you get that highlight in, like it really won't look the way that you want it to because people won't make the connection that this is like a glossy object until you get that in, right? So once you get that in, all of a sudden it kind of pulls everything together. Now, what I did was actually make that highlight on a separate layer. I'm gonna, then go in and just darken some of the edges of that because the highlight is usually a reflection of like whatever that light source is, and it's usually not the same value all the way across it. Like so a lot of times, like the highlight will be a little bit brighter in one spot and a little bit darker in another spot. So I have this soft brush and I'm kind of adjusting that a little bit. So you can see like even really quickly, like, and then what I'll do is just come down like this and join that layer. If I make it even smoother, let's make it like here, I'll do this. Let me see if I can can I grab this? Actually here, I'm going to see if I can just I want to cut off the top of that. Let's see. Actually, no, that's all right. I'm just going to erase it. It doesn't need, like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. Let's just erase it and get it to be a little smoother. Like this, right? So I can get this to look like one of those bonbons with whatever I want, like whatever kind of texture I want on that. I can sort of get that right. Now there would be an occlusion shadow underneath this, right? It would help to have this be on the ground somewhat, like it's sitting on the ground. So let's actually lighten this. Let's say it's this gray environment. I'm going to come in here, lighten this. It'll look a little better if it looks like it's sitting on the ground. Let's not lock the opacity, so I can actually do this. All right, let's grab sort of a soft ink brush. There we go. Like this, right? And actually what I'll do is make a layer and go underneath this. That way, I won't have to worry about hitting it. So the ground will get hit a little bit like this. And then the shadow would be on this too. Like there'd be a shadow coming off this bad boy like this. So I have this kind of hitting over here. Like that. And then I would have to go back and like add a little bit more reflection going in. But there would be an occlusion shadow underneath here too. Like, so right underneath here, you'd have a pretty dark shadow, like somewhat. Not super dark, but you would have a dark shadow underneath that edge of that. like right there, like where, especially at the corner there, right? So then we've got like a, like a sort of a weird alien bonbon, but we've got like that bonbon, right? All right, let's do another one. I'll just let me smash these layers together. I don't want to belabor that. Let's do a Macaron, okay? Let's do like a red one. And these are really fun. I think these are really fun to make. They're a little bit tricky because you've got multiple ellipses, right? So if you want, you can kind of like, and actually, this shape I always have students do because this like tire shape is really hard to draw. Like, so you have an ellipse like this, like drawing an ellipse and drawing like a cylinder is a little bit easier. But if you have like a tire shape, what happens is this, like when you have that tire shape, you have this kind of a shape like this, but then it rolls up and then comes down like this. And then you have the second ellipse there and it rolls up and then comes in like this. And a lot of times the tire will be outside of that like that too. So, right. So this will come in like that. So it's a little bit tricky. See, I messed that side up, but it's like, comes to a point out like that, right? It's really tough, like really, really tricky. Like if you have a tire, really, really tricky shape. So this is a little bit similar because you've got two ellipses like this on here. You have to kind of make like a tire shape, so it's a little bit tricky. I love that snail you're making on you too. It's good. I love that. Really good. And so okay, so let me make, actually let me go back and make this. Let's do that with each one. Let's make this I'm going to make this this bonbon into a creature, right? So what I think I'll do is, what if I had like, what if there was a mouth on this, right? So what if this was here? And what if like the chocolate inside was exposed, right? So somebody like almost like took a bite out of it, right? That kind of a thing. So I think there'd be a highlight on the edge of this, right where the lip is. Like there'd be a highlight right here, cutting across here, because this edge, this ridge would be catching some light right there. And then let's say there's like the chocolatey interior that's exposed right here. The almost like Milky Way kind of inside or whatever, or like the fluffy nougat kind of a thing. But you would get from this corner of the mouth, I'd probably get a shadow cutting across. Like I'd get a little bit of a shadow from, well, it depends on exactly where it's facing, but let's go like this. Let's make this a little bit more like that. Yep. So then this stuff that's on the inside would be a little bit more like texturally. I'm going to grab a brush that's a little bit rougher, because it would definitely be, it wouldn't be like a smooth transition. It definitely would not. I'm going to grab like the sketchy, chalky stuff like this and come in here and grab this and just make it a little bit rougher in its breakup pattern. Like as it shifts from dark to light, it's going to have that rough pattern. So here too, like some of those ridges would be catching some light. So I'm going to use that rough sort of brush so that when you look at that and on the, the breakup pattern looks like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like that piled up like chocolate nougat stuff, right? So you'd kind of see that in there. Now it would get darker and a little more saturated in those areas outside of it. A lot of times chocolate does that too, but let's even sell it a bit more, right? Let's sell it a bit more and say like, all right, I'm going to have some chocolate dribbling out of this, right? Dark chocolate. So let's have that coming down the side like this. I'll do this on a separate layer, dripping down the side, and then let's put a little puddle of it right here, right? Like a little puddle of, like it's drooling, right? So this is like and I'll put the eyes on in a second, right? But again, see, this is where like, so imagine yourself like you're a musician, right? And you learn some principle, right? You say to yourself, okay, I want to learn jazz, right? And you say this particular jazz, like what's this? How does jazz work, right? Or how does blues work, right? And you figure out like based on, I don't want to go too far into like music theory or whatever, but like basically you learn that it's like certain notes, right? I don't want to lose everybody in that, but like basically you realize, oh, there's certain types of notes that they use in jazz, right? Certain types of notes. And you figure that out, right? Well, then you're like, okay, if you figure it out, that's one thing. But then if you're like, okay, this is the certain types of notes they use, and I'm going to make a song, or I'm going to take a song that is like poppy and normal, and I'm going to make it jazzy, right? So I'm going to turn this into a jazz song, right? Now what that does when you force yourself to do that kind of thing, what that does is like it forces you to really come to grips practically with what is different about jazz, right? You really learn more than you would if you didn't put it to use. This is the same, right? So when you learn a principle, I would really encourage everybody, like when you learn a principle, don't just learn the principle and move on and say like, okay, cool, I moved on now, like I've got a principle, I understand, translucent stuff. It's like, well, then grab a still life object or something and then turn it translucent, because then you'll realize real quick, you're like, I think I understand this, but I don't actually understand it, right? I don't actually get it. I thought I did, but I don't, right? And so this is the same sort of thing. Like when you take this and you say, okay, I'm going to do this texture, and you do something fun like this and say, I'm going to turn it into a creature, right? Like turn it into a creature or turn it into something like that alone forces, like what I'm doing right now is like I'm going into territory where like I don't really have a reference for it, right? I don't have a reference for it. Like I have to kind of think about what the light's doing, and it just really forces me to understand what I'm doing a lot more, a lot more. So I would really encourage everybody to do that. Like have some fun with it. Have some fun with it, and don't be afraid to do that. Like come in and try stuff like this. So not, I mean, for me, like my go-to, of course, is like turning everything into monsters. I just love that. And it's sort of in my nature, I guess. But you don't have to do that, right? You can do something else and it's totally fine. But I think it's fun, and it really solidifies the idea. There's you know, it's kind of like in school, when if they tell you like, listen, I want you to figure out this math problem, right? I want you to like work out the math objects, how is it projectiles, like how does gravity affect projectiles? And everybody that doesn't love math is like, ugh, gag me, you know what I mean? Like this is the worst. But everybody that loves math is fine, but everybody that doesn't, but when you say, all right, listen, we're going to learn about projectiles, and listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build these things, and you guys are going to build a catapult, like maybe a small catapult, right? Not a life-size one. And you're going to destroy each other's fortresses. Like, and whoever destroys the fortresses gets like, $100 gift card to like this pizza place or whatever, or something. And all the kids are like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to destroy your, like, so then all of a sudden this kid that doesn't really like math is like, I am going to learn math and I'm going to blow up your entire, you know what I mean? Like it's like it becomes so much more fun, right? And I think when you have to learn the technical sides to art, it gets hard. Like it gets really hard. And it gets taxing, right? Like you feel it. Like it's very taxing, and it's just the principles. You need to study the basics, and you need to be hitting up the fundamentals. But if you like trick yourself into doing something fun, well then you're gold, right? Then you're like, all right, sweet. I can just do this monster, and I'm basically doing the same thing, and I'm learning the principles, and I don't know, you're tricking yourself into it. So I that's what I tend to do. I tend to get bored like fairly easily. More I used to more when I was younger than I do now, but when I was younger, man, I would get really bored. So I had to like kind of trick myself into how I would, how I could learn this stuff, right? Make it a game. Make it a game, or make it something fun and do it. So, anyways, that's what, yeah, you do too. Yeah, exactly. Like that's the way to do it. And it works, with anything, right? Like it's actually a fundamental thing for like raising children, right? And you're like, if you sing while you're doing something, or if you make the dishes, like, all right, like you're like, okay, the dishes need to be done right, but Violet, my daughter, she did it in 12 minutes. Can you do it in 9 minutes, Sam? And do it, okay, and then all of a sudden it becomes a game, and then it's just a helpful way. You just forget about what you're what you're doing, you know. What'd you say? On you said, if you're bored, you're boring. It's true. It's totally true. If you're bored, yeah, but I I guess yeah, I'm getting to the point where my quotes can definitely be used against me, though. But see, you got to find ways to not make it boring. That's the key. That's the key. I don't know how to find my way out of that one. That wasn't a good enough a good enough redirection. That was I can't rationalize too much, to get out of that. But so here we go. So let me put some eyes on this, right? Let's just put some like chocolate drip eyes or something. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Yeah, track them and use them against me too. I need that because like I'll say stuff. I just say crap sometimes. Like honestly, like I just say crap, and it's like I love the people in my life that are like, uh. I said to one guy, I said to one guy one time, it was a buddy of mine. I said anybody that does this is so dumb or whatever, and this and that, and I was basically talking about how extreme this person was. I was like, anybody that says that extreme thing is so dumb or whatever. And he was like, "So you just kind of describe you said it in the most extreme way possible that this person was dumb." He's like, "That is," and I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah." I was like, "Yep, that's right." So, it's funny. It's yeah, so call me out. You got to call me out. I like people that call me out. It's good. So, feel free. I appreciate those kinds of people. Okay, so little chocolate drips on here. We made a little creature out of it. All right, let's do some macarons. Let's get some macaron action up in here. Let's go like this. I'm gonna use I'm gonna do a red one. Let's do a red one. Let's do one like this. I'm gonna make like the tire shape, right? Like this kind of a thing. And then I don't want to make it too wide. I want to make because there's some of them are wide, but here we go. Well, I want to see what you guys are doing. What you guys are doing. I also have another. Oh, nice, nice. You're making a macaron snail. That's a good idea. I think I have another page. Let me see if I can find it, you guys. I had another page of pastry stuff where I made creatures out of it. Ah, dang. I hope I have that. Um, I think I have it. Let me look for it. It was just grayscale, but I'll show you some of the ideas that I had. I love this. What you guys are doing, like this like what dinosaur was that? I can't remember what dinosaur that was. This one. That one's awesome. That's so good. Really fun. This is cool too. This is great. I love it. Nice, nice. And this is good. This truffle snail is so good, Anya. I love that. That truffle snail is epic. That's epic. I have it on my iPad. Hopefully I had let's see if I can find it. Is it this one? Oh, here it is. I got it. Okay, so I'll bring it in, you guys. It's gonna be really big. Sorry, but I'll bring it in. Hold on. Okay, so let me bring this in. Why it's gonna cover everything, but give me a sec to so you can see there's weird sketches on there. This is where I came up with the idea of that's where I came up with the idea of that like entremet thing. I did like a sketch first and then I did the painting like this. So, this is like an entremet guy with like Jordan almonds as teeth. This is like a brioche loaf and then a cinnamon roll and then a unicorn horn out of whipped cream, that kind of a thing. That's a donut hole. I don't know what these are just weird heads in there. But the macaron like this and then licorice, like I thought licorice could be like a bow tie or somebody. This is the Napoleon. I called him the Napoleon nincompoop. I don't know how to spell nincompoop, but this one, yeah, yeah, that's like, yeah, that was weird, right? And the gumdrop, I was just having fun. But it really helps you, creatively to really, start thinking about all that stuff. I think so. Like it's a blast. It's a blast. Um, okay, so let's come back. Let's do some macarons like this. I don't want to make them too wide. Let's do this. And again, I love when I'm doing this, like to make a silhouette and then work within that silhouette. Like that's like my favorite thing to do with this kind of a thing because it just gives you a lot of control. You can move very quickly. Now, macarons are like super colorful, which is really interesting. Like you could think about and that's the thing, like when you start breaking these textures down and you start saying like, okay, like it was really smart of you guys because having a snail out of that is really intelligent because it looks like, like the shell and sort of has the break in it like a shell would have. Um, and you can think about, okay, that kind of looks like a hamburger. You can think like, it's rounded on the outside like that. It totally looks like that. These could be tires for a car. That could be, you know what I mean? Like you start thinking, remember in Wreck-It Ralph? Remember that? Remember Candy Crush? Like that whole world. That was really fun. There were probably a lot. I haven't looked at that in a long time, but there were probably a lot of different things like that. The cars were really cool. Like they had to make them functional, but they made them out of those all the candies and stuff like that too. So surprisingly, like this kind of a thing, honestly, is very useful. Like in the concept art world, no joke, it's really useful. Like you'd think it's not, but you find yourself in weird situations sometimes. Honestly, you do. Like I mean, can you imagine like being the artist when they were working on turtles and they were like, okay, I need you to make this guy. It's a fly that has morphed and changed, and and he's like sucked up all these animals, and he needs to you know he needs to have his legs like made of barnyard animals and fish and all this stuff. Like, can you just make like a transformer out of a bunch of animals, and like like it would just be like the weirdest. That's like the weirdest assignment. Like just such an odd assignment, but such a blast, right? It'd be really fun. So you'll find that this is, think about what else Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, too. Look at all those creatures, right? All those creatures, where they had to create all that stuff. I mean, it's amazing. Like the stuff is actually gonna it's more useful than you think in terms of concepts. It really is. So don't forget that. Don't forget that you can use it for your portfolio. You can use it for whatever, these kinds of things. I would save this stuff if you guys can. But yeah, you'll just find yourself like, because that's honestly, like, I think a lot of times creativity isn't in a vacuum, right? So it's not in a vacuum. Like you feel like you have to create something. Yeah, they're good films, aren't they? Yeah, they're really good. So good. Like, you feel like you have to create something totally in a vacuum, like just make something up, right? But oftentimes the most creative thing, or how artists function, is with like a fusion sort of a thing, right? It's like how a fusion chef would work. Like maybe a chef goes to Korea, pulls a little bit from that, then pulls from the American cuisine, then maybe pulls a little bit of French cuisine in, right? It's like this fusion that ends up giving you something interesting. It's not like he has to make, or she has to make, like a whole completely new culinary category. Do you know what I mean? Like it's most of the time it's like fusion. It's like the way you do it that makes it interesting, right? So it's it's fascinating that way. And I don't know, it's interesting. Like, so I think doing stuff like this where you grab something and turn it into something that it typically isn't is a really good exercise. It's a great exercise, really nice, and really is almost the heart of creativity, I think. So anyways, there's my pitch for it. But I really do think like that. I think a lot of times people feel like a lot of times when people are first starting to try to be creative, like when I'm teaching new students, that's how they feel. They feel like, dang, I don't know how to be creative. Like I don't know how to, and it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be, devoid of reference or devoid of like any other idea. It's usually like one idea is a springboard for another idea, and that's how it works. So, and I mean, honestly, like I'm working on my own show right now. I'm kind of doing this personal project for fun, and I've showed Anya a little bit of it, but it's definitely too early to show anything. But um, although I think I showed you guys the Bob the Celestial Fart. I think I showed you him, um, but uh, but it's one of those things where I know I'm not going to be able to create like it's not going to be like, it's going to be like some other show. Like I even created a character, Bob the Celestial Fart. He I made him first like a balloon that had a face on it, and I was like, he was the most powerful, being in the universe. That was like my first idea. And then my buddy was like, dude, that's like Gumball. And I was like, it's like Gumball, because I didn't really watch Gumball that much. And he's like, yeah, there's this balloon on Gumball that has a face. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know. And so I couldn't do that because it was like almost like a straight ripoff. It was like almost became like a straight ripoff, and I was like, oh dang, I can't do that. Nothing you make is gonna be unique. Nothing is gonna be somebody else is going to have done it at some point, something similar. And it happens all the time. Like I tell everybody, like, hey, what do you think about this? Like I have this idea for this, and they're like, oh, that's like this. That's like this show. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess it is, or that's like and so you can't run away from that. So anyways, my whole point is like, don't feel like you need to be creative in a vacuum. Like it's almost impossible these days to not make something that's like that's just slightly derivative. I don't know. I feel like it's impossible to not do that. Like that's why I think people that obsess about it, it's like, it's almost the wrong idea, but that's what we're shooting for here, right? Get some ideas, start, and sometimes that means like, there's nothing new under the sun. Exactly. And sometimes that means like the first way to start creativity and start this kind of a thing is to actually just paint what it is, right? So like just paint what it is and don't, or the eclipse. Oh, I didn't, you have to tell me what you were referencing when you said that. I moved on, and so I didn't know what you were talking about. Oh, nothing new under the sun. Oh, got you. I get it. Oh no, you're so quick with the dad jokes today. I love it. You're on it. That's really funny. You must be in a good mood. No, I love it. I freaking love it. I think it's hilarious. Keep it up. Keep it up. And then I'm not the only one making those kind of jokes. I love it. Nothing new under the sun. Or the eclipse. Yeah, oh, that's funny. Hey, do it. Disturb it all. Let's do it. I want to use some translucency on this one. I want to do like I want to have this like coming through, like this jelly is like a little bit translucent on that side. You know what I mean? Like it's coming through like that. Maybe maybe at the edge it'll be a little bit more intense. Whoa, that's too much. Way too much. But like it's kind of see through a little bit. That's a little too much too. Go a little darker. And then I got to think about what I want to do for my my creature with this one. Now, this is the thing, you guys. Like I said, sometimes the best way forward is to paint just what you see, right? Like if you don't know, paint what you see, right? Because then in painting what you see and painting, like just doing a study of something, in doing that, you realize what you like about it, like what's interesting about it. Like you start to get a handle on it. And that's the first step that's like your gas tank for creativity, right? And you start to imagine what it would be. And I don't know, it's studies from life and stuff. Like a lot of people don't paint from life anymore too. And I really think like that when you're painting like horses from life, you smell them. If you're close enough, like you smell them, you see them move, like you do, like there's more that you can glean from that creatively. And I don't know, there's a difference. So I would encourage you guys too to like not only work from photos and not only like work from life, work from life and get out there and experience things, and it just gives you fuel for your creativity. It really does. If you don't know, like if you want to paint, like let's say you're painting like what a kindergarten class is like or something, right? If you've never been to a kindergarten class, it's going to be hard to kind of get the feel of it if you don't really know what it is. And then once you go and you experience like the insane frenetic energy of like and the absolute like switching of topics like that little kids do like every 5 seconds, like, hey, like this, my dog has this, and then like I eat oranges, like I don't like glue, like it's like, I mean, it's changing topics like every 2 seconds. And so that frenetic nature, like once you kind of experience that, like you'll be able to kind of capture it, right? If you have to. If you're in a bakery and you're like thinking of the way things smell, like that makes a difference. It makes a difference. It makes whatever you're learning stick more strongly in your mind and stuff like that. So get out there and do it. Toddlers are the best. They're hilarious. And speaking of like no filter, oh my gosh, that's like my favorite. Because toddlers will just be like, your face is weird. And you're like, oh, is it? And they're like, well, not too weird. And then I'll be like, well, what about your parents? Are their faces weird? And they'll be like, yeah, their faces are really weird. I'm like, okay, well then it's not just me. You know what I mean? But when if you do have something wrong with you, why are you in a wheelchair? Like they'll say whatever. I love that about kids though. I love that because like I like honesty, and so I sort of I like little kids when they're just like, you're an ugly man, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not too attractive. I'm like, but I'm funny or whatever, and they're like, ha, like they just move on, and then or whatever. Kids are crazy. They're crazy. I love them. I can't wait to have grandkids. And my grandkids like are saying crap like that. Grandpa, why do you smell like an old sweater and olives? I'll be like, well, listen, little Jimmy. I'll be like, I love olives, and I don't know. I'm old. It's what happens. I don't know. Whatever. Oh, funny. That's gonna be a fun time. I swear that's gonna be a fun time. I'm gonna like sugar up my grandkids, and which is funny. I'm 44, but dang, I'll tell you what though, like the fact that I have a 15, close to a 15-year-old son, um, you know, he's turning 15 in like 6 months, and that's like so weird. So actually, not 6 months, more than that, but that's odd to me. Like, because he was saying to me, "Oh, Andy, you're 45. Nice, yeah." Like that, it's gone so fast. So I know that sounds weird for me to be like, "Oh, my grandkids or whatever," but like, it's not. I mean, it comes so quick. Like life goes so quick like that. It's crazy. Blows my mind. So I'm just feeling like, I don't know, like it's right around the corner. So maybe that does really make me sound old, um, but it's just true. Okay, I'm gonna put a drop shadow underneath this. I'm definitely like stream of consciousness today. I'm like it's a little bit sorry if it's disconcerting. These pastries got me got me thinking that way. Got me- I enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah, it's awesome. It's great. Like I love Sam. My son Sam said to me the other day, he was like, son, call yourself old, you can call yourself vintage. Yes, that's right. Vintage. That's right. I like that. Yeah. I'm straight vintage, man. I got vintage Riz. That's what I'll tell my kids. I got vintage Riz. So much vintage Riz. I'm gonna say that to them. They'll be like, I can't believe you said that. And I was like, guys, like Riz is like charisma. And they're like, no, it isn't. I was like, that's what it comes from. I was like, Riz. That's what it comes from. I was like, yes, it is. Cringe, I know. Well, that's my favorite when I can be cringe for my kids. If I can be like, what up, homies? Which they don't say anymore, but I'd be like, what up, homies? Like, like I always like to mess it up. I always like to mess it up like I do it on purpose. I'll be like, what up, like school boys and school girls? I'll be like, how's it going? And they'll be like, what? And I'll be like, there's so much Riz in the universe today or whatever. And they'll be like, what? I like to mess it up on purpose. Oh, it's so funny. It's my favorite. Okay, so I love the crab idea for a macaron. I think that's awesome. This is so good, like a ladybug, and like both of these ladybugs, like these bugs. This is so good. I freaking love that. That's awesome. That's so good. Really fun stuff. Really fun. Yeah, those are great. So I'm looking at mine, and I was thinking like it could be like I was trying to think like it could be the body of something. I could have eyes on it. Like it could be like a wheel or a tire for something. I was thinking. I was trying to think out. I was thinking it could also be part of a hat. Trying to think of what has a stripe down the middle too. What's like rounded and circular, and maybe I could open up this. Well, let's see. It would be. I think a crab is actually like perfect. It really is perfect for this because you put like those eyes coming off of it, like this, and you've got that. That's actually really good too. Let me think. Let me think. I'm just gonna start drawing some, painting some legs on it. Oh, I'll make a. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make like a. I'm gonna make a spider out of it. So what I'll do is I'll make like one I can't remember the different parts of the spider, but like one the thorax and one the back of it. You know, the butt of the spider. I'll just copy and paste it and make this the front, like this, like that kind of thing. So it's a spider like that with two macarons. And actually, what I'll do is make this one. Can I make it slightly? Like I'll make it the hue slightly different. Like I'll make it like. Can I make it like? Could make it. Yeah, just a little different. And I'll make it like that, like a spider. Okay. So then I'll have legs coming off, and then I want to have a little bit of a head. I'll make it like a chocolate based head, like this. I'll do this on a separate layer too, like a chocolate head for the spider. And it's interesting, in order to get it to read like chocolate, you actually need to go pretty far towards the warm direction, like pretty reddish. Like if you look at chocolate, like if you spread it out on your counter, like if you've ever worked with it, like it gets a really warm tone to it, like a very when you spread it and thin it, it almost looks like burnt umber or like burnt sienna paint almost in a way. So it's really interesting. It's much, much warmer than you'd imagine. And it does get dull. Like if it's dull and it's not tempered right, you get like this. You get like a I don't know. You get like a cool color, like in the that will sort of or a cool like a more dull and cooler area in the lights. Um, but yeah, it definitely leans towards the warms. That's for sure. I'm gonna get rid of some of the halo around this. So I'll come back and address that later. But this would be fun to have those two. And one of them's of course, there's going to be a cast shadow off this. I'll show you what I mean. Like this, I'll probably just actually let me just squash these layers, and that way I can put a shadow on here. And I'll do this because this would have a cast shadow on it for sure. Coming off this, hitting this. Oops, still on the eraser. Let's go like this. Yeah, this would have like a cast shadow coming off that. This side would be in shadow too. Like this would be pretty decent shadow over there too. Yeah, it would be a bit more like this. This form would be, it'd be casting a shadow on there. This would be a little bit lighter though. It wouldn't get quite that dark. But yeah, like you'd start to get like almost like an occlusion area in there if if you had two of those together like that. Like you'd have the light would sort of get it would you'd have an area where the light couldn't get to, and it'll get a little bit darker in there like that. Okay, so I've got this. Let's go back to this. Let's get I want to make the head of this spider. There's a shadow. There should be a shadow coming off of it like this, kind of coming down on that side too, being cast on that. But I do want to make this well, like what we were doing with the bonbons. I'll make this. I want to kind of make like a pattern on there. Let's make a dark pattern on there, like you guys did. But I love this. This is so cool. It's so cool to see everybody's visions too, like what you guys are thinking, like what's going on in your head and what you're seeing and stuff. I absolutely love that. It's really cool. This is by far like my favorite thing to do is like to just jam and draw with people and like and see their creativity like just flow out of other people and what you guys are doing. It's super inspiring. Like it's awesome. And all of these would make good concepts, all of these would make good concepts. Like you guys are rocking it. It's really good. And remember too that like a lot of times, yeah, Andy, it's great, isn't it? It's like it's so fun. It's so fun. This is like a chocolate covered peanut or something. Like I've got as the head of the spider. That's what I think I've got on there. Um, but maybe I can I got to figure out what to do for the legs, but But, remember too, like a lot of times, like in art, like a lot of times there's a focus, there's a real strong focus, which it should be, but there's a strong focus on what the what's happening technically, right? So what's happening technically, like how how do you draw this? Like what's the lighting doing? What's all that? But and a lot of that matters a ton, right? Like I totally thought of licorice 100%, Frank. Like I was looking, I was like looking it up. Like I was like, I need because I'm gonna do that, and then I was like, so I'm gonna have like a chocolate base, but then I need to do licorice, So I'll bring that in for you guys if you guys want to look at licorice too. I think I'll do red. Red licorice would be, or maybe black. Yeah, maybe I'll do black. I guess black fits better. But that's so funny that you say that. I was just thinking that. Just thinking that. So I think, and again, it's about getting the principle of it and understanding like this one isn't going to be a one-to-one. I'll show you this. Like this isn't going to be a one-to-one. Um, wow, that is bigger than I thought it was going to be. Sorry, guys. Let me reduce that. I'm not going to be just able to copy this. I could do like one of those. What are those licorice ones called? Like the old-fashioned one. Oh, dang it! What are they called? They've got like the. I'll put eyes on this that are like that. Oh, all sorts. That's what they're called. All sorts. Okay, let me look that up. All sorts. I'll show you guys what I mean. All sorts are fun. I don't know if you guys remember them. They're old school. Like they're old school licorice. They look like this. This is what they look like. Here we go. Does anybody remember these? Anybody have those as a kid? Yeah, I know. I know. Now I'm showing my age. Although I didn't. I mean, all sorts were before me too. They were before me too. I ate them growing up, like we would get them, but that was like my parents. That was like my parents' licorice, kind of a thing. Um, so all sorts are, yeah, yeah. I remember them. Yeah, I remember them. Licorice, all sorts. It is that does kind of show my age, like 100%. But yeah, like when I'm making these, so like when I'm making these legs and like thinking of the licorice, I'm looking for the principles that are involved in this, right? So I'm looking and saying, okay, it's a little bit more translucent, right? Towards the edges here, you get like towards the edges, like right there, you get like a almost like a subsurface scattering that's happening, like which is gets warmer and more red, but then the shadows are very dark. And then there's a little bit of like a cooler, like a desaturated and obviously a very prominent shadow, but also sort of textural at the edges, right? So all of those principles, keeping all of those in mind now allows me to then come in and just like riff on this, right? And kind of put it in and be like, okay, this looks like this, right? And so what I would start with is sort of like a desaturated, like almost like a value like this for the licorice, right? So I'm going to do that on a separate thing. So let's go like this. I'm going to kind of have these legs come out like this. Maybe have this one come up a little bit like that. And I need to do 8. So I'll do this one, and then maybe I'll have the other one like just coming out from the back like this. Here, let's go like this, like that, right? So there's my legs, although this isn't quite sitting on the ground. Let me get rid of this shadow, and then I'll redo the shadow later. Let's get rid of that. There we go. I'll kind of put the legs on the ground, and then I'll worry about the other side once I kind of get the handle on it. But I think what I'll do too to make it more awful is not make them standard like the all the same, like make them sort of undulate in size. I think that would make it more creepy. But again, I got this as a separate layer so I can adjust the values and the edges really easily. And this too. I want to put like, have there actually be like a connection point there. It doesn't have to be super specific, but I don't necessarily love that tangent there, but that's okay. We'll figure that out. Now I'm going to, lock the opacity for those. And I'm going to say, all right, let's go a little darker. Let's go a little softer and go a little darker. And then the licorice kind of legs look like that, but then I'll zoom in and just, like I said, it's a little bit of like it's like a desaturated warmer area for like the top, wherever the light's going to really hit it. So let's go like right here, like right there. This one would have it too. This one too. Now, as it gets down towards the edge, I'd probably get a little bit more translucency, like in the tips of these, right? You'd be able to see through them a bit more. So that's why you see me kind of adding that bit at the end. See ya, Anya. Take it easy. Good job. Yours are great. They're really cool. I love them. Love them. And so they could be chocolate, right? You know, you could look at these and say like these could be chocolate. Like they don't look like necessarily they're licorice, right? But that's okay. But again, a lot of that information comes through in the highlight. So then what I'm going to do now is come back to this, and actually what I'm going to do too is like maybe just put in maybe just do it like this, right? So I'll grab this right here. Actually, it'd be nice to have these be darker over top of this. Like kind of do this, right? I don't know what spiders' feet look like, but this is it doesn't have to be a super accurate spider too. But that's a little bit more like that, right? So then we've got that there. Let's erase some of this. Make this a bit more like that. And then I'm going to add the highlights on this, which are going to be very close to that. It's going to be a little bit warm, like the highlights, like, but it's a desaturated compared to the legs, but it's got a little bit of warmth. It's also a little bit rough. So I'm going to actually grab like a chalky brush. I'll see if I can do it that size with the chalky brush. Let's see if it lets me. Actually, let me go back to that. I was choosing the eraser for that. Let's go to the chalky brush and see if it lets me work that small with this. So I can do that, but let's go like 20% opacity and kind of get, there you go. That kind of works. Right. So then certain areas of that are going to be extra bright, right? Like, so like where the light's going to hit is going to be a little bit extra bright. This is what's going to sell the idea that it's licorice a little bit more than chocolate, right? But if it's black licorice, it might not, kind of come through a little bit. I might have to like, get a little bit more of like what if I could get like a little bit of like a swirled kind of texture look to it like this? Fuzzy horse hooves on the tip side of the foot and almost like a dog's paw. Oh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Man, dang. I didn't know that. That's cool. It's so complex, isn't it? Like you see it and they're so small, but yeah, that is weird. That's really weird. That's awesome though. I love that. This side would probably be in shadow too. Like it wouldn't be hitting right there because like that side would be in shadow. Like that part would be, there'd be a shadow over top of that, like blocking that. This would have a little bit more, but yeah, like a little bit of a texture like this is going to kind of, I think, like sell the idea that it's licorice, like that it has like those striations on it, like that kind of thing. At least we'll make it look a little bit more like licorice. It doesn't look as much like chocolate then. But you will, that's the challenge. The challenge is like keeping them distinct, keeping these textures distinct, getting them to read like, and when you start doing concepts and it has to be, utilized for a game or for different things like this, like you need those textures to read very clearly. And so sometimes that means like changing the local value, the local color, sometimes it means like, just, I don't know, just making adjustments that way. And it helps, helps quite a bit. I don't know. I want to back up and look at this, but that's okay. I want to doctor the values a little bit. I also want there to be a little bit of a reflection from the ground in there. Like this would definitely have a reflection from the ground in the bottom of here, like that kind of thing. Maybe underneath here too would have a reflection from the ground like this. I definitely don't think it looks like chocolate now. And maybe it's a little bit too far with that, but it's fine, like in terms of the overall texture, but fun stuff. Now let's put a little shadow underneath here. I'm going to go to the layer underneath. Actually, I'll go underneath all this, and then I'll put this shadow underneath here. Let's go a little softer. Like this kind of thing showing up underneath there. Right, like that. Let's go like 10%. like this kind of a thing, you know, underneath there. Probably needs to be a little bit more, yeah, a little bit more opaque, a little bit more of a clear shape, like that kind of thing. And then let me come back in here and erase some of this. If you had bluish gray, it will still illusion of black layers. Yeah, it's true. Like well, it does and it doesn't. Like if you, I can try it. Like let's go in there and add. Let me add let me add this to it, like a bluer here. Let's go. I'm still on eraser. Whoops. Let's go like this kind of a thing. Let's go like a little bit darker, like a little bit more like that. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like kind of that direction. Like kind of, I want to make it darker, but it's tricky. I think part of the issue is when it's dark licorice. The issue is maybe it gets warmer at the bottom, but stays a little cooler up here, and that could help. Um, the issue with darker stuff is that the color scheme, like you can't really um like you can't see it when it's really dark, a lot of times, so it doesn't necessarily resonate. But either way, it kind of looks like gummy too, or something like that, which is fine. That's fine, which is okay too. I think that's okay, you know. For now, doesn't have to be, absolutely dead on, but yeah, still it's fun. Yeah, it's fun, Um, but yeah, it would have to, but see, that's the hard part though, and that's the interesting part, I think, is like when you can really dive in and like you start to see like, okay, it's not quite reading and it needs to read a little better. Let's try I want to try this. I want to see if I duplicate this. Let me duplicate this layer. I wonder if I could like flip it, you know. I know I can do that. Edit. It's under. Where is that under? It's under the transform. I think there is a way to flip that to mirror it. I believe there is. There is. Let me go here, and I think it's here. Oh man, I believe there is. Here we go. And yeah, here it is. Doink, like that. Yep, that's it. So I'll need to flip that like that, and then let's see. How would I flip that? Hold on. I need to come around the other side. Yeah, like sort of like it would be behind there, like that. But I need to flip it horizontally now. No, that doesn't work. Okay, I was thinking, could I do that? I guess I could and sort of hide it, but it won't quite work. I think I was trying to think through it, but I I think it doesn't work. So that's okay. I'm going to put it out the other side. Let's go like this. Now I have like the methodology, and I've got the values and the colors and stuff like that. Let's go this way. Let's kind of come like this. I can put this here, and then this one's here, and this will come down, maybe come down through here like that. I'm trying to think in perspective along this line, right, guys? Think in perspective. This one might come out here. This one would probably just be seen here, and maybe a little bit of it like that or something. Nah, it would come through the back, so I probably wouldn't even see it. So this would be here like that. Let me put this on the layer above. Yeah, there we go. So I have this like that. That one would be there. Just really fast. There we go. And so now we need the shadow underneath to reach over there a bit more. And what you'd get would be like a little bit of an occlusion like underneath each of these like hands. You'd get like, or hands for lack of a better term, right? It would be a little bit darker there, like underneath there. That would be blocking stuff a little bit more than everywhere else. If the light's coming from that top section, just a bit, like that kind of a thing would be happening for sure. This side would have that too. Oops, needs to be a little bit darker. But yeah, you'd have like, light coming off that side a little bit more. I'm just doing it really fast, but that's the idea. And towards the center of the shadow would be much darker. So this is like the super quick sketch way to do it, but that's the idea. And actually this section, if the light's from the top right, you'd have a little bit more, like the shadow would be kind of placed to the right a bit more. it would be kind of coming down a little bit more like that. Like you'd have a little bit in between these. So it'd be something more like that, kind of. But let's do, let me just, let me do lock the opacity here and just add some highlights on that. I'll add the cooler colors that you guys were talking about, which is good here. And then add like those warmer kind of inside areas. Whoops. Don't go too far with that. I think one of the most powerful tools you can do digitally, though, like I really do, I think is having like silhouettes like that and having like selections. Like after painting in oils for so long, selections, like man, like it would change the game if you could do that in oils. Like you can kind of do it. You can sort of do selections like if you like mask out an area and stuff like that. But man, I mean that's the like it's huge in digital. Like to be able to control, like to do a big old wash and have it only affect certain things. The Krabby Patty from SpongeBob. Yes. That's awesome. That's so good. I love it. I love that so much. That's super fun. It does. It does look like that. All right, let me put a bunch of like maybe like little whipped cream eyes on the top of this spider. Like I would have like a bunch of eyes, right? Like a bunch on here. And so what I'll do is I'm just going to make the right side of each of these a little bit like it was like a little bit of like it's very close in value. Very, very close in value, but it's just a little bit darker on the right side if you have like a whipped cream kind of a thing. And I can barely see it because it's kind of pixelated, but I'm just going to come here like this. And then I'll put the eye, a dot for the eye on everything like that. That'll be funny. But I do need to have shadows on there, but I have to kind of think of the overall impression because it's very small like this. And the big thing too, I think, is like getting that cast shadow coming off of them. I think that's the big thing too. Like getting a cast shadow coming off the sides of them. And in between here, like if you had these eyes, like some of them would be darker than others and stuff like that. So let's see how this looks. That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. It's a little, I need to make it a little bit darker on this side, like overall, but it's kind of gross. That's like they look like weird little candy eyes. Let's put a highlight on them. But like I said, it's pixelated, so I can't like, there we go. Can't control too much of it. It's like I'm doing like individual squares at a time, but there we go. Oh, it's funny. Let's go like this. Get these mandibles out like this. Let's get them coming out in front like this. And I want it to come in between the legs so that like you can see like I want that silhouette to read. Like I don't want it to be a weird tangent with the legs, right? So I want that to read really well. Okay, so let's do darker shadow on these. Whoops, lock the opacity. Darker shadow. Now let's go a little bit later. Let's make that like kind of related to the chocolate as well. You know, that new Willy Wonka movie, I bet like they did a lot of this, right? I bet you in that new Willy Wonka movie, they did a lot of food-based like creatures and stuff. And, like they had like, because in his factory, like he builds stuff and then, birds are flying around or different things are happening. So I bet you they had a lot of conversations like we're having right now about how those textures work and all that stuff. Ooh, the all sorts. Like that like abstract looking like alien, it's like a snail sort of like that all sorts. Andy, that's good. I like that. Here we go. Let's put some whipped cream on this spider's butt. Let's put some whipped cream on there. Okay, I can kind of see what it does based on these like egg shape things. Like I can kind of see what it looks like value wise and stuff. It's really helpful. It's really helpful. So let's put, yeah, they're fun. They're fun. They're definitely fun. Let's see. So let's get this base. I have to think about the 3D structure of this, like whipped cream or whatever. Like it would be sitting there. How would it be sitting, right? So be on here. Let's put it in the middle, like this. And then I'd have another, like if you're piping it on, it would be kind of off center too. It would be a little bit more like that. Maybe a bit more like that. Like the silhouette needs to read right. Then this would be just a bit darker. You can kind of see it on here, like it's a little bit warmer. This one would be affected by the red, but this side of the whipped cream would definitely be a little bit darker like that. Just a bit darker, and would sort of be like this. And then this side would be like this. You'd have it be pretty bright actually over there too. But then you would have it following the form, right? So this would follow the form right here for the whipped cream coming up like this. Like that. It would kind of follow the form and wrap around that side. Like this, like this. And then we'd have occlusion or like darker areas in between these, right? So darker areas in between those like this kind of thing. But then more importantly, like it would have to be a really smooth transition from one side to the other. And then you'd have to have those highlights in there for sure. You have to have those highlights in there for sure. So that you'd come in here. This would be a highlight a little bit more like this. And have that whipped cream. But then what we would have to, I think it's going to be much more cohesive in value. It's going to be much more cohesive. Like it's just going to kind of come through like this. Yeah, I think this side would just all be much like the whole thing. Like I think I have too much value difference. So this would just be a little bit more like this. And I think I'm going to have to, before I do too much, like I have to do a cast shadow coming off of this. Like that's going to help it settle as well. Like sit on there, and make sense. Like there's a shadow coming off there like that, maybe coming down over here. So this side would potentially be a little bit darker. But then you would have this shape coming up, right? So this shape would come up, this shape would come up like this shape would come up like that. Maybe it wouldn't be so even. Let's go a little bit more, like I want the values to transition a little bit more. And I think I would still get a little bit more of a highlight if I can go there. Just a bit on the top. Yeah, just a slight change on top. Like that kind of thing. And sometimes like whipped cream has like the ridges on it. Like has like ridges on it. Like so like you would get these shadows would kind of create like a pattern coming into the lights. Like that kind of a thing. Like you get like a little bit of that. Like it would be lighter, but you'd have like this pattern coming into the lights like that. That would help it. I think I want to erase some of this and make it look a little more like the shapes work a little bit better. Like have each of these areas be more like that, right? Like I can see the bumps more clearly. See that? I think that works better. Kind of comes through like this. There we go. It's a little bit better. Yeah, and each side of this would probably be a little bit darker for that. That's starting to look a bit better. Like this coming in like that. It needs to be. Whipped cream is actually it is difficult. I remember doing the a bunch of textures with it and being like, oh, it's tricky. Like because it's just such a subtle transition, and actually you can't go too far with the values. Like the environment would seep in as well. Like this background would seep into that too, and it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky to get it exactly right, but it's fun too. Let's put some sprinkles on this. I want to put some sprinkles on this bad boy. And those are done pretty easily, but you just have to, again, approach it like you've got an area like this. Each one's going to have a light and a dark, right? So like the darker side of this, it would cast a shadow. And then you'd have a light section on there, right? So you'd have a light section on there. And that's pretty much what you need to get those sprinkles. But they also, the sprinkles would sit off to the side, right? So not all of them would be, on that surface. Like some of them would be sticking off the surface like that. That's important as well. Like to get that. You still have to get the lights, the darks, and then the highlights and stuff. But, getting them organized in a way that looks random as well is a little bit tricky. Definitely a little bit tricky. Like that kind of thing. Let's do like a chocolatey one. Let's do like a pink one or a purple one. Let's do like true rainbow. One might be a little bit more like straight up. Maybe like, yeah, getting it to look random and stuff is a little bit difficult sometimes. Like you want to keep it, you want to add, like they're not always the same size. That's the thing too. They're not always the same size. Sometimes they're smaller and a little bit thicker. So you have to account for that too. Sometimes they group up too. Sometimes they group up like there's two. Like one will be here and then another one will be right there. That ends up making it look a little bit more realistic if you've got two, because they sometimes do that. It depends. Like you've gotta like walk that line, you know what I mean? Where it looks, because mine's starting to look a little bit too set up, Um let's go green, like let's do another blue one. Just want to work on the placement. Like that kind of thing. Yeah, and you can sometimes like some of the whipped cream would be like covering them sometimes, so you can like cover that up. But again, like trying to duplicate that randomness and stuff sometimes is a little bit tricky. But as long as you get the effect of it, it's okay. But it's a little bit tricky sometimes. Let's do this one out here like that. Let's go just a little bit up like that. That's like, I think like randomness, like faking randomness when you're drawing and painting too, is just like it's a thing that takes a lot of practice. It's really difficult. And this is going to cast a shadow on this. Nice. The armadillo, truffle armadillo. I love it. Yes. The cat too. The cat with the like sprinkles. Meg, that's great. It's sort of like a candy cat. Like what's the idea? Because I know like give me the idea that you have with the underside of the cat and stuff too. I'm curious because I know you're not done yet, but I'm really curious what your thought process is with that. That one looks really cool because I'm seeing that evolve, because I saw you drawing the cat and then I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder what that's going to be. Here, like this. Okay. Let's go a little bit darker underneath here. Let's go like this. This one here. Let's put another one in the shadows. Like that. Another one over here like this. Maybe one sticking off. Bunch of sprinkles. I don't want too many, but then I'm going to come back over this and adjust it. Okay. And this would have an occlusion shadow like underneath this cream. Like it would be pretty evident, right? Like it would be evident where it begins and where it ends on there if there was lighting like this. So it'd be kind of fun to put like a sprinkle um on the let's put like a blue one. Oh, a macaron jaguar. Oh, got you. Yes, yes, yes. Got you, got you, got you. Right, right, right. Yes, like taking the textures from that. I see it. I see it. That's cool. That's cool. I love it. I love it. It's really fun. I'm gonna put like a what if there was like icing on this? Like a smile on this like would that work? Or like you know, like let's see if I can see if I can get it to look like it's a little bit darker underneath there too. Let's see how that looks. That's like that's weird. That one's weird. I kind of like it without it, but this is on top like that. That's that whipped cream is sitting on top. Let's see. Okay. And then maybe I could have some nuts sticking out like this. So it would just be a little bit lighter like that. Like maybe there's some sticking out like this. And so then I'd have like a darker edge on that. Like this, almost like a Ferrero Rocher kind of a thing going on right there. A little bit. Do another one because they would stick off a little bit and then create shadows. So just kind of indicating it like that, I think is interesting. Now I need to bring out this. Yeah, that side is hard to see, so I think like a little bit of reflected light on that would help that be a little bit more visible. Sort of. This looks a little weird, but I think I need the highlight to be a little bit further out on this one. This would be a little bit lighter, kind of leading up to that. It's fun. So yeah, these are awesome. You guys are doing so good. I love them. So I think that's good. I only had till 12:30, but I want you guys to keep rolling on these. Like if you're inspired by this, keep rolling. Fill this page, you know. And I've got another page on here too. Fill that page and kind of, you know, if you want. I don't see anybody there now, but go. Feel free. Keep working on them because I'm telling you, this way of doing fusion stuff and like you're figuring out the textures, you're figuring out like how to render and how to do this, but you're also like putting it to use. And I'm telling you, it's the, you know, this can like, it's the same principles that you would use to make a creature like a woodland creature that fits in a particular world or like makes, you know, even like Lord of the Rings creatures or whatever, you know, whatever you're thinking of, like it's like, you know, how do you make a tree and a man like a tree ant, right? Like how do you do that, right? Well, you do that by like combining the two and doing that fusion sort of style. It's really really good. So anytime you do like a texture study or do something like that, try to utilize it in a in an interesting way, right? Like try to make something cool out of it. It'll help you work on your painting skills. It'll help you work on your rendering skills, but it'll also help you just flex that creative muscle and stuff. So it's great. You guys did so good. It looks awesome. It looks really cool. Everybody did amazingly well. Like I said, I've got those. I've got these references, not all of them, but most of these on the next page here. So feel free if you guys want to jump over there and add more. Keep going. You know, keep going. I see croissants starting up there. Night, you're doing CK Rab Night, you know, doing some love that croissant scorpion. This is so good. You guys, and an all sorts creature over there, and the Macaron crab, and like this. I know it's not a diplodocus. I know, but like I'll just call it that. Like this dinosaur, like custard, egg custard thing or whatever. I think these are mango. I think it's like brioche with, like a custard, but then with like mango in there or something like that. So that's awesome. It's great. These are so good. The ladybugs rock, and these are good too. You guys are doing great. Everybody's looks awesome. I love the snail. This brain one is fun too. It's cool to see him in action, like in a different pose. So, yeah, use these textures. Oh, this is good. I didn't see this up here. That's hilarious. Let me see. Nice. Oh, okay, nice. I see. That's the best. That's funny. So yeah, keep exploring these, you guys. Keep trying them out. Love this guy. I want to see this guy finish too. This is like the pastry version of like the planner's peanut. I love it. So the armadillo. What would we call this too if it was a truffle dillo or something like that? It's really funny. But yeah, good job, guys. Really, really good. Love the stuff. It looks awesome. Keep working on these. Like I said, fill these pages, fill the next ones. They look really cool. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, think of them. Arma truffalo. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's it. That's legit armadillo too. I'm from Texas. I can say that looks like an armadillo. That's spot on. So you rocked it. So good job, everybody. And so next time we'll do something similar to this. We'll do another fusion like this. I'll think of a different one that we can do, and it'll be really fun because I think these are really useful. I want to keep exploring that. So really, really good, guys. And like I said, if you have questions, think about it for next time. Build up those questions and keep trying this stuff, and you might run into roadblocks. If you run into roadblocks, like I said, think about it for next time when we're working on a different sort of fusion, because a lot of times the principles are going to be exactly the same. It's going to feel and kind of function exactly the same way, but just with different types of textures. So yeah, no problem, Andy. It was great. You guys are fantastic. It was inspiring to see your work, seriously. Yeah, really, 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 really cool stuff. So like I think these are great. Really good. Yeah. Awesome. Glad you guys had a blast. Take it easy. Have a good rest of the day, and a good rest of the week. And I'll see you guys soon, and we'll do some more fusion fun. Keep kicking butt.